Here's a garden tour for June 14th, 2021. We're looking at the pepper plants, which are kind of looking kind of scraggly. Those jalapenos on the left, they have actually some small peppers, but the plants are not growing well. There's our first tomato plant in the center, and then as we move towards the white fence, there's my major tomato patch. And if you look very closely in almost the very center of the frame, you can see a little grouping of tomatoes on that one plant. As we move and pan towards the lettuce, and you can see I have two different kinds of lettuce growing there. And the tall green leaf lettuce is doing very well as the kind of reddish, crinkly, whatever you call that lettuce. I have more of that we'll see in a little bit. And you can see the little pea pods dangling down. And they just came in really pretty fast, like they kind of took me by surprise. In fact, I came in the house, I'm in the house now, and I really meant to pick some of them off because if you want to really put them in salads, you don't let them mature to seed because they're just not as tasty. But it's always good to have seeds for the coming year. And I pretty much used all my last year's seeds up this year. And this absolute mess in the lower right-hand corner of the screen is just a overwhelming amount of oregano, onion, and parsley that's just already just out of control growing. And as we look, you can see a hill in the background. See that hill in the background? There's a doctor's office next door to my house. That's what that brick building is, and that little sign protruding up is. And these are the grapevines. We think they're grapevines. They look like grapevines. And that tree that is coming into center frame is the apple tree that I always talk about, the apple that I ate. And you can see my house is covered in the back. It's the back entrance to my house. And there's a little bird flying away in slow motion. It's kind of neat on the left. I don't know if you saw that. And that is completely covered with grapevines as well. So it's, and I left my scissors out. I'm going to have to go back out there, that reddish black thing. So we're supposed to get a thunderstorm today. I had some scissors and twine because I was tying up those tomato plants. Since they look like they're doing very well, and I'm expecting more tomatoes on them. Unfortunately, I didn't go high enough to show you the temperature, that little circular thing in the upper portion of the frame. If you can see it, doesn't get cut off by YouTube. It was about, in the sun, it was very close to 85 degrees, getting up to like 90. And on the left, there's some stinging nettle, and that conflagration of stinging nettle. There's a maple tree. There's some kind of berry tree that's about 20 feet tall. That wooden post in the background is the bird feeder, the one on the left of the path. That post on the left here, not the metal one, that's for an umbrella. That is, I just put that in today. That's another one I've got. There's some string, you can't see it, some twine holding another tomato plant up there. I have some tomatoes planted in with parsley, sage, and cilantro. And behind that is oregano. We'll get a better look at that in a little bit. And on the left hand is a fence, and above that is like a kind of a makeshift privacy fence that I just added to the top of that. Eventually I'll just create a taller wooden fence there, just to separate me from the neighbors' windows I just like privacy when I sit back. We'll see towards the end of the video I have a little bit of my lounge chair, well, to end things with. But let's go into this other bed here. And as you can see, we're going to close up on some flowering potato plants. And they're doing very well here. Some of these were volunteers, others I planted. And I expect to get, I guess we'll get a couple dozen potatoes from the plants that we're looking at now, and there's some that are run along the back left of this area. But those tomato leaves always have those little tiny holes in them, but it never seems to have affected the potatoes that I usually end up digging up at the end of the year. So I don't know if that's some kind of bug that does that, or what it is. I've got all these like little oniony chive things growing everywhere that they were there since last year. I've got to dig them out this year and harvest them and I guess eat them. I have such plenty right now that I just don't know what to do with it. Here you're seeing my other lettuce patch. And you can see again, it's two different types of lettuce. The green leaf lettuce that are protruding up. And then of course this curlier reddish lettuce. And since we're looking at this, it's a little bit blurry right now, but since we're looking at this from a bird's eye view more or less, it doesn't give you the idea that these things are pretty tall. There's a lot of lettuce there. I mean, if I were to bag this today, I mean, we're talking bags and bags of lettuce. And I just don't know what to do with it. I can't eat it all. And unfortunately, it's my hours, I get up at 3 in the morning, so I'm doing this right now. It's 11:30. I just came in. I was out for like 2 hours. I could give away, if it wasn't lettuce, I could give it away to like the doctor's office, or there's a business across the street. There's really no one else that lives around here that wants this stuff. But the problem would be things like lettuce, unless they could refrigerate it, the stuff would just get floppy. And here's some pea plants, I believe, that are starting to vine. I was worried about those. It took them a long time to get going. But you can see they've started to latch on. At least that one has latch on to the metal I put there for it. And of course there's some more of those chives. They're all over the place. In the back here, that's my little boardwalk so I could get in between. And that's a zucchini plant that's looking pretty decent considering it doesn't get full sunshine. It gets sunshine from about noon till sunset, or close to sunset. It almost gets 8 hours. And you can see this flowering plant. There's some more potato flowers there. But you can see this plant here that's starting to flower. And that's a really nice, it's going to be an interesting flower when that comes up. It's like white and red. I forget what it is. And behind there on the ground, you can see those look like I just sprinkled in a bunch of marigold seeds. There's also we're looking now back by the wood, and there's 2 corn plants, and then the rest are sunflowers. So they're all kind of tightly together. I've got to thin those out. And then we're just going to look here again at that big bush of oregano, which is basically wanting to go to seed as well. And this is another view from a different angle of these tomato plants. It's hard to make out which is which because it's just such a jungle. But I've gone in there and cleaned them out, and when you're actually looking at these in person, there's enough room for them to grow and for air to flow in between. So it kind of looks more crowded than it is. And back in that darker area, due to the my wall and that tree that's about 20 feet tall. I have a squash plant in there. I'm not expecting anything from that, but there's some cilantro and there's another little mini potato patch back there. And we're just closing in on these 2 tomato plants now. And you can see they're flowering. And again, I was messing with them today and they were looking very healthy close up. Sometimes the video doesn't give you, at least with this is an iPhone camera, it just doesn't give you the best view of them. And of course this is sage. The parsley's almost buried now. It's gone to seed for the most part, but there's still enough parsley leaves that if I wanted to put parsley in a soup or garnish or something like that, I could do it. That tall thing is a marigold, some kind of wild marigold thing mutant marigold, and behind that is some wild cilantro. In other words, I call it wild because it just kind of self-seeded from last year. Some people call them volunteer. You could see some parsley intermixed with the sage there. And in this wooden box in the back I should say, some kale, 3 different kale plants. And they're all doing fairly well. The tallest one just wants to keep going to seed. That's left over from last year. But as you can see, there are leaves on there. And behind that, under that, those are carrots all in here. And that's pretty much it for today. Some flowers I planted, and my other potato patch, and you just missed it, but it was a little bit more of the zucchini. Here's my chair. And I spend the better part of my time on this lounge chair catching some sun. That brown wood on the left is going to be painted either white or gray sometime in the next sunny day like today. Anyway, that's all for now.